One of the most hyped prospects in recent UFC history suffered their first defeat on Saturday night. When Reinier de Ridder stopped Bo Nickal via TKO knees to the body, the internet exploded. People are saying the hype train's been derailed, Bo Nickal's been fraud checked. But in this video we're going to do a technical breakdown, looking at the fight clips, seeing exactly how RDR was able to dismantle Bo Nickal, and now people are questioning whether or not Bo Nickal was any good to begin with. But make sure you stick around to the end of the video, because we'll be breaking down the fight clips, seeing exactly how RDR was able to make light work of Bo Nickal, and then I'm going to conclude by discussing whether or not I believe there's a way back for Bo Nickal. Hello guys, and welcome back to Alex on MMA. Hope you're all doing well, and I know that the theme running throughout this video is going to be about Bo Nickal and whether he has been fraud checked. Was he ever that good? But before we get into looking at the fight clips, I want to talk about his opponent, Reinier de Ridder. And there are a lot of things that you could say about this fighter, but you know what, from my own personal perspective, every once in a while these fighters come along, they don't have the biggest push from the UFC. Yes, this guy was a double champ on one championship, and for some reason that doesn't seem to get talked about enough. But RDR is just one of those fighters that I absolutely love. I love everything that he does, his swagger in the octagon, the big smile on his face afterwards, his all-action approach, never taking a back step. If Bo Nickal thought that he was going to be able to bully RDR like he did to Paul Craig, forcing him on the back foot, RDR just showed that isn't an option for him. Yes, the stuff might look a bit goofy at times, might not always look the most technical, but you look at that knee that finished the fight on Saturday night, and that was a technically perfect knee. His hips went through it, a brilliant finish. But RDR is quickly becoming one of my favourite fighters. I look for his name when I see that these events are announced. He's just one of the exciting fighters, whether or not he wins or loses, and since coming to the UFC, he's only been winning. So RDR, I take my hat off to you. You are one of my favourite fighters currently. Keep doing what you're doing. I cannot wait to see you next time out. Anyway, that's enough of my love letter to Reinier de Ridder. I'm going to load up this first fight clip, and it shows a knee within the first few seconds of the fight that really set the tone of RDR's game plan and Bo Nickal's vulnerabilities. Let's have a look. And by the way guys, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. I'm banging out a lot more videos now. So if you're into these UFC breakdowns, prediction videos, general chat, please do subscribe, like the video, and comment if you love RDR as much as me. So we're going to take a look at this clip now. It's not the best angle for it, but you can see both fighters in the southpaw stance, effectively cancelling each other out. And Bo Nickal dips his head, which is a habit that he has a lot because he loves to throw the big overhand right, big overhand left, and threaten a takedown. So by dipping the head, he's giving many different looks to his opponents. And he throws a lead hook to the body. However, in doing so, this is definitely something that RDR looked at in his game plan, because this is a habit which happens in all of Bo Nickal's fights. RDR throws a knee, and he doesn't really commit to this knee. You can see that his hips are still over his knees. It's not like he's pushing his hips forward there. So, you know, it's kind of a bit of a tone setter, it seems to me. We're only 4 seconds into this fight, and he's already thrown that knee. And if you actually look, it does not quite the point of his knee, but the top part of his thigh, so a bit more of a fleshy area, does connect with the bottom of Bo Nickal's chin. And Bo Nickal actually does the right thing here, because as de Ridder steps through with that knee, Bo Nickal circles off to the side. And as you can probably imagine, knowing the result of this fight, this isn't something that he continued to do. But he does the right thing there, circling off, keeping that right hand fairly high so de Ridder can't get any shots off. And look, de Ridder, he is a risk taker, isn't he? He's one of those fighters. That's why I love him so much. There with his chin high in the air, his hands down, throwing that knee because he knows that's the game plan. He's got to stick to it. He believes in his toughness and his durability. So we're going to move on to the next clip, and what was a bit of a wake-up call for Bo Nickal, because the shot that he's had so much success with, we just spoke about before, that overhand right where he steps through. It can work against a striker like Paul Craig, who's going to be defensively minded, taking backward steps, trying to roll with that punch. But against a machine like Reinier de Ridder, who just refuses to take a backward step, he looks so much bigger than Bo Nickal there as well. So, again, the angles for these aren't great, but you can see he's in the southpaw stance there, and he shifts through TJ Dillashaw style to his unorthodox position and brings that overhand right, which de Ridder just gets his head off the centre line for a fighter who stands so tall. I can't really decide. That's probably a lack of accuracy by Bo Nickal rather than fantastic head movement from de Ridder. But look, de Ridder doesn't move backwards. He's not trying to get away from this punch. He's getting himself entangled with Bo Nickal, getting himself in a clinch position, wraps Bo Nickal up, gives him absolutely no distance. And when he postures up here, that's just one thing that really stuck out to me in this fight. Like, look at this. This is a great example of it. The difference in their body shapes there, it's just unbelievable. De Ridder looks like he could almost be 2 weight classes above. I know that Bo Nickal, he must be very thick. He loses a lot of weight. He cuts a lot of weight. But even so, de Ridder just looks massive compared to him. So I really saw that sequence as a wake-up call to Bo Nickal, shifting through, throwing that overhand right against inferior strikers. That's actually nice movement. It shows some good footwork and landing that shot. But when de Ridder just refused to take a back step and just clinched up, Bo Nickal must have thought, do I have a plan B? Do I have a plan C? And maybe even a plan D, because I might have to use it against this guy who's so gritty, so in my face. And whilst we are on the topic of things that Bo Nickal did really well in this fight, I want to take a look at his takedown that he landed in the first round. Because these first 2.5 minutes, there were definitely signs that de Ridder was the more physical, the better striker out of the two of them. But here you can see that a really nice trip attempt by Bo Nickal, something that de Ridder likes to do as well. I keep playing it through. So he's unable to take de Ridder down with that trip. But just as de Ridder's back foot there touches the ground, Bo Nickal goes for a really nice ankle pick. Whilst he's still got that underhook grip, he picks his ankle there. So Bo Nickal's pushing him in that direction whilst pulling his ankle that way. Keep it playing through. And gets a really nice takedown onto RDR. And as you can imagine, he's really good at this position given his wrestling background at getting top position. But unfortunately for Bo Nickal, his raw wrestling pedigree, his extremely high wrestling pedigree, just wasn't enough to make up for the experience of RDR. And his octagon awareness, as we're about to see in the next clip, just showed the difference in levels. He is a 2-time one championship fighter. He's been around the block, got 20 wins on his record, only lost twice. Whereas Bo Nickal just doesn't have that time in the cage to really do these sneaky little things, be aware of where he is at all times in the octagon. And as you're about to see from this transition where RDR ends up in top position, it just shows a difference in terms of level of experience, because grappling for grappling, it's really debatable. Obviously, Bo Nickal has better wrestling, RDR has better jiu-jitsu, but when you put it up together and you compare experience, RDR's a clear front runner. So let's take a look at this. So as you can see here, Bo Nickal has RDR in a front headlock position, and this is something that's real bread and butter for wrestlers, isn't it? Collegiate wrestlers. Bo Nickal's got him in a good control position here, and now I just cannot understand for the life of me why he went for this guillotine attempt. Look where he's got a knee. Okay, fair enough, his knee might be between RDR's legs there, but he hasn't even got a half guard in this position. You know, it's like he's pulling him onto his side, trying to keep a hold of his head. I'm not sure if he's trying to force his hips underneath RDR's to try and keep him moving over this way so that he can get his guard, recover some kind of guard there. But from being in a good position on top to trying to pull guard there. And as you can see, I spoke about the octagon awareness, RDR's positioning. Even though Bo Nickal has a hook in there, has almost a butterfly hook in there, you can see RDR's hand on the mat there. He's forcing himself over, doing almost like a forward roll here. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows where he is. You can see, there you go, right, his feet against the fence. These are the little details which you need to break down these videos frame by frame. He knows where he is, and he just kicks off the fence there with that back foot. Whilst Bo Nickal's trying really hard to not lose this position, because he knows as soon as RDR, let's keep it playing forward. Sorry about this. I know frame by frame can be a bit frustrating, but it's so good to see this. You can see that RDR's hips are already turning in. So when he gets that side control, he'll be in a chest-to-chest position. He's just kicked his back foot, his top foot off there. Turns in and takes side control on Bo Nickal. And that comes all the way from Bo Nickal having that front headlock position, a really good solid position, and RDR's able to take side control from there. Really impressive, but again, I just think it showed levels in terms of experience more than anything else. Bo Nickal watching that back, I'm sure he'll be so frustrated because he knows I'm in such a good position for me. I know this position. I've been doing this position since I was a little kid. And he just went for something that he's not all too familiar with, trying to play off his back against a better jiu-jitsu player. And so the first round ended with some scrambles on the ground, and we're going to move over to the second round for the next clip. But when you look back at that first round, if it had ended there, would you have thought this hype train had been derailed? Did we get enough information from that first round? I think there were definitely signs there, as you saw with that knee early on, and then Bo Nickal not being able to control RDR on the ground. You knew it was going to be a long night for Bo Nickal then. But from the start of this second round, this is when it all started to fall apart for Bo Nickal. And this really was the beginning of the end. As you can see in this clip, we're starting off in the clinch again. RDR looking like the much bigger fighter. And he lands a clean knee. You can see Bo Nickal's body reacting immediately to that from the clinch position. RDR's got his head above Bo Nickal's as well. Nice control there. And you can see Bo Nickal's hand there. He does not want another one of those knees. Not only are they hurting a lot, they're also zapping his gas tank. And a lot of the thing I saw online was about how tired Bo Nickal looked. If you eat 1, 2, 3 of these knees, you're going to feel it. Your gas tank's going to feel it. So let's keep it playing through. And Bo Nickal, look at the way that he's even turned to the side now. He's so worried about these knees coming through. His body language was really, really negative in this fight. Look at that. Look, he looks as though Reinier de Ridder is just taking him for a walk there. And of course, because his hands are down, protecting his body. Just a little shot. Dirty boxing from Reinier de Ridder. You're not going to get this from Paul Craig. You're not going to get this kind of intensity. Another knee there on the clinch. And this time he goes for that tie grip. And boom, a knee to the head. This is just horrible. This is a horrible fight to be involved with. Whether you train or not, if you've done Muay Thai sparring in the past, anything like that. Just imagine being in a fight with this guy who's just constantly moving forward, constantly putting pressure on you. Every time you clinch up, you can't relax for a second because a knee's coming to the body or these little shots from the head. And I think this just tells the whole story of the fight. He looks defeated. I'm not sure if it's just his expression and his hands down there just saying, please don't knee me to the body anymore. This was a really nasty performance by Reinier de Ridder, and a very impressive display. And as you can see there, he shows, I've used this for the thumbnail, he just shows Bo Nickal his knee there. And you can see Bo Nickal wants absolutely no part of that. He's not trying to get a counter off it. He just moves out the way. So very, very impressive display to open up the second round by Reinier de Ridder. And it's about to get a lot worse for Bo Nickal from there. And now, because I am Reinier de Ridder's new #1 fan, I'm not going to accept any slander that he's not a technical striker, because I want you to look at this. Firstly, let me just move that back a couple of frames, if you can see that. Look at that face of Bo Nickal. I'm not saying that he quit. I'm definitely not saying he quit, because those knees to the body are absolutely disgusting. But he wasn't enjoying that fight. Let's put it that way. You see fighters like Dan Hooker, even when they're in the fire, they absolutely love it. He was enjoying no part of that fight. And sorry for this lag. But as we're about to see here, de Ridder, this is really technical striking, really nice. He throws that jab, but you can see there isn't so much on it. He's just throwing it out there, but it's all a disguise. That jab forces Bo Nickal, whose head you can't see right now, which dips to the side. And immediately on that, he throws that left knee to the body. The left knee to the body is obviously the shot of this fight. And it lands. And as you can see here, Bo Nickal has a single leg grip here. And you'd think, of course, being the wrestler, Bo Nickal's going to clutch on that now and finish it. But these hands, he felt that knee then. His hands just fall apart. And he goes back to a clinch position. Again, no interest in eating any more of those knees. Let's go with that single leg, which might have been his last opportunity to salvage something from this fight if he was able to get RDR down. So based on what you've seen already, do you think that Bo Nickal is a hype train that's been derailed? We're just getting now towards the finishing sequence of the fight, so let me know what you guys think. Is it too harsh? Was he just pushed too soon? I think I'm probably leaning slightly more in that direction, given how good and how just veteran experience de Ridder showed in this fight. So as you can see here, in the clinch again against the fence, Bo Nickal looks like he's just looking to the cage door now. He wants to no more part of this fight. Bo Nickal lands another solid knee. again, for people who are taking the piss out of Bo Nickal for his pre-fight antics, saying he's the best in the world, I think realistically you have to think you're the best in the world to be crazy enough to do this sport. And I'd like to see you eating these knees from de Ridder, those of you who say that he is quitting. So look, his hands are completely down now. Yes, de Ridder's got one hand on the top of Bo Nickal's arm there, but Bo Nickal doesn't look as though he's really fighting that, does he? I think he's quite happy to have his hand there defending his body. And just these short, dirty boxing, suffocating shots from de Ridder. Going to keep it playing through. One to the body. There you go, Bo Nickal. More to the head. These are just nasty, nasty shots. Yeah. That's it. And at this point, it's clear to the commentary team. I think everyone knew that Bo Nickal was hurt at this point. His body was hurt more than his head. These short shots, yes, they were wobbling his head a little bit, but there was no real venom on them. It was definitely his body that was hurting him more than anything. And now we're going to look at the finish of this fight and just how RDR, this is the most perfect knee that RDR landed in this entire fight. And it was the one that closed the show. And look, again, Bo Nickal was still firing back. It's not as if he was eating those short shots against the cage and then just crumpled to the ground. He was firing back, trying to wing big shots of his own. But as you can see here, and we're going back to almost back to the very first clip that we spoke about in this video. As Bo Nickal this time throws a right hand, de Ridder just times it perfectly. And when I say the perfect knee, look at his hips pushing forward. You can see his hips are thrusting forward for even more power, and the point of his knee, his toes are pointing down as well, so the point of his knee is going straight into that floating rib of Bo Nickal's. Again, if you've ever taken a knee like this before, you know, I've taken it in interclubs and sparring and stuff like that, never at a high level at all, but even taking ones with shin pads on, taking kicks to the floating rib when you're not expecting it is absolute agony. And de Ridder actually showed some mercy to Bo Nickal at the end there. You can say he just tapped him on the head. But that was the most big brother move of all. He's almost saying, look, you're done in this fight. Just take one more little one on the top of your head for misbehaving. And that's the end of that. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this hype train has been derailed? Or was it just too much too soon? Either way, RDR, he can still be bragging about this performance either way because the UFC pushed this guy onto the fans. Bo Nickal was meant to be the next middleweight superstar, to destroy Chimaev, to beat Dricus du Plessis, and to be one of the next title holders. He was an imminent title holder. This was just the next step up for him. But RDR just dismantled all of that, showed really crisp striking with his knees, really strong in the clinch, great maneuverability when he got taken down by Bo Nickal to get the top position. All round, it was a pretty flawless performance by de Ridder. Someone whose performances you can very rarely call flawless because he does have a fairly wild style that runs him into trouble a lot of the time. But I really enjoyed the performance. And like I said, I am de Ridder's new #1 fan. As far as Bo Nickal goes, I don't think the hype train has quite been derailed. I think he does need to rebuild. He put something out on Instagram earlier today saying that, you know, he will be back. He just needs a bit of time away. And I think that's probably right. Maybe dial back on the level of competition a little bit. It's just so difficult for him because he's at the UFC now. It's not as though he did the regional rounds like Paddy the Baddy at Cage Warriors and just kept himself there whilst he gained the experience, took a couple of losses on the way to becoming a more complete fighter. He hasn't been able to do that. It's not as if he can leave the UFC now and guarantee that he'll be back. But I think he does need to take a couple of fights more outside of the rankings, work on some vulnerabilities that were on display in this fight, and become a better fighter. But like I said, I don't want to take anything away from RDR on the night. He was just a much better fighter and came away with a win. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this technical breakdown of RDR versus Bo Nickal. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment what you'd like to see next.